So our next speaker is Ellie. She's going to tell us something we can learn from Calvin and Hobbes. Welcome her to the stage.
All right, so I didn't want to disappoint, so I had to use Calvin and Hobbes to help me with a little bit of humor today. But I just realized how much genius financial advice there are in the Calvin and Hobbes cartoons. And if you don't know, he's a little 6-year-old boy with an overactive imagination with his stuffed tiger, Calvin. And I'm going to date myself and say that I was reading him in the 80s, way back when, and I realized I did not figure this all out till maybe about a year ago. And I wish I would have noticed it back then, and maybe I'd be farther along. But truly, honestly, about a year ago, I was in my office, and I think a lot of us have been here, where we just feel like, oh my God, I gotta get out. What am I doing? And so I wanted to become financially independent. So I started researching and trying to figure out what that would be, because our plan was to inherit money for our retirement plan, which wasn't a good plan because my mother-in-law ain't leaving anytime soon, unfortunately. But that's a whole nother story. But so this is what I learned. I learned first you got to make a plan, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know when that truck is just going to hit you. And you got to look down the road and know what your plan is when you are looking to be financially independent. And so, then all of a sudden it's like, what number do you need to retire? Well, what the hell is the 4% rule? And trying to figure out that number, and it's constantly moving, because then you maybe got a pension or Social Security, or you got investments, and it's so confusing. And sometimes when it's confusing like that, you get stuck. But you got to just keep moving forward and keep stepping ahead. And that's what they teach us. Then, of course, you got to cut back on those expenses and start to become frugal, like we see Calvin here, not getting a snowblower and having to do it, because, it builds character, doesn't it, when you get to do those things? And sometimes I wonder if Calvin's dad is actually what it'd be like if Mr. Money Mustache was your dad. I mean, we're making less imprint on the earth, we're saving money, and we're building character all along the way. And so I just know that's what it'd be. But I know I've had lots of frugal fails along the way, and one of my biggest one is biking. I only live a half mile from where I work, but I have to drive because of everywhere I go. And also, I live in Minnesota, so that kind of puts a damper on the whole biking thing as well. And my kids have had some of these types of vacations, but I have gone down that wormhole of travel hacking. And yes, this was my first trip on points to Orlando. Woo! So that's pretty exciting. You also learn that you got to start investing and saving, because you know what? The world is probably not going to end tomorrow, and so you got to have that money in that traditional IRA or Roth IRA or whatever you decide. And you also need to know the value of money, and you got to teach your kids the value of money, and that it's not all about power and me. It's about being free and having that freedom to do what you want to do. But you do have to start by making some extra money. So how are you going to do that with those side hustles? Or you could sue, I guess, and get your student loans repaid, I learned. That's pretty cool. But before you start doing all those side hustles, you need to make sure you really know what the demand and supply is out there for what you're selling or what you're giving out. And you also need to know your value or your worth, because you are worth more than some of those things are willing to pay you. So make sure that you know your own worth. The other thing is you do need to expect the emotions, because there is euphoria when you look at your portfolio and it has grown by like $10. Oh my God, it's awesome. And you're just like, yeah, I'm on a roll. This is going great. And you're like, I just want it to be over 1 million now. I want it to be 1 million. And it's like a race. And you're like, crap. It's going to take a long time to get there, because it isn't a race. And sometimes you do feel like you're going to curl up in a ball and want to take a nap. But you need to embrace that journey. Don't get paralyzed by it, and just keep moving, because otherwise your life does atrophy. And the other big thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you're always connecting with others. I mean, isn't that why we're here at FinCon, is to connect with other money nerds and to get to know each other and share our experiences, and you can connect online and everything. And it's just been so motivational this past year for me, and it's really taken me farther. And so this is the last slide it's actually Bill Watterson retired with this cartoon, and it just said, it's a big world out there, so let's go exploring, and that's my goal. Thank you.